The mock disaster is an exercise that simulates a serious situation to test the ability of emergency workers to respond calmly and competently in the midst of chaos.
At the end of March, the mock disaster took place at Centennial's HB campus on Morningside Avenue. Here's our coverage of the event.
He has obvious preference. Aaron.
He's got you.
Today is a mock simulation. The actual event is an explosion in the subway with lots of bodies being carted out into the closest hospital, which happens to be the Centennial Hospital. We convert the various labs that we can into what is basically a hospital environment, and then invite a bunch of doctors and nurses to come play.
We are taking nursing students, medical students, and medical residents who are trainees who finished medical school. We create a mass casualty incident, and then we throw all these people in and we tell them, deal with this, manage this, figure out how you're going to cope with the unusual circumstances, the more difficult workload, the sicker patients, and the life and death decisions that have to be made under these circumstances.
Well, and her pressure is
80 over 30, yeah. All right, let's...
Okay, up. How old are you, Alex? 24? Okay, and tell me again what happened. How'd you get the injury on this side? Were you hit by something or did you fall?
Subway, that's hit.
Did you black out at all?
We're kind of stuck in the chaos of being on scene, so the biggest thing for us is identifying who needs to go to the hospital and who needs to get there the fastest.
120 on 70 and she went up to 140 on 60.
I'm a nurse in emergency at Mount Sinai, and it's fun. I picked nursing because I get to combine my like for science along with interpersonal people skills. That's a good blend. I like doing that. Why emerge? Emerge is fun. Can you park her around the corner right over here, please?
I'm a resident physician, so I'm an emergency medicine doctor at the end of my training. So my role in this particular scenario is to run the trauma resuscitation area and help out with the sickest of the sick patients that come through the department.
Okay.
So just to be there's the ET2 van, paramedic, the ET2 van. So there's one right there.
So we're kind of sorting out sick versus not sick. So we had the help of 2 people who are dedicated solely to that, triage officers, and then you kind of have to take some of it upon yourself too. You don't want to take everyone to the wrong facility and overreact, so you have to have a good gauge of who's sick and who's not sick. It's hit and miss sometimes on how acute the patients are, so it's a lot easier to stand and describe to a nurse, you know, someone who's got pain in their stomach, as opposed to bringing in someone who's having CPR performed on them and been in a massive explosion.
Ma'am, can you hear me? She's tachy at 140. She's breathing 44.
Every patient's different. You never know what you're going to get walking through the door next. Always keeps your mind moving. It's a challenge, and it's rewarding. People come in dire agony and pain or injury or in life-threatening situation, and we help ease their pain and we help fix their injury. Excellent.
Sorry. Come with me this way.
Have a seat.
Well, it gets some hands-on for a situation that is pretty rare in reality, and with a simulation this big, it allows students to see just how scary and how chaotic a surge of patients can be when something like that happens.
So, well, if we have to do it, so then we can wait for
gens here to do the trade. We have high fidelity simulators, so patient simulators. We have great made up patients. All of them are done quite realistically.
I don't know. I think everyone in this profession has their own reasons. Mine is kind of personal, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I just want to be helping people, saving lives, making a difference.
Oh, fundamentally, you have your critically wounded, your slightly wounded, and almost in this situation, most importantly, family members. Because in a situation where you have, say, 20 people injured, you get about 150 family members swamping the hospital. And that's one of the critical pieces in the simulations. It's the interaction between the disciplines that are really critical, and it's a vital role for our students to enjoy a safe environment and know what real life is really like. It's a really good learning experience for not only for the police foundations and social service workers and broadcast students and paramedic students. It's the interaction between all of it, and it's not just a nursing mock disaster, it's an everybody disaster. I always say this is the best and closest thing to reality a student can get and still be safe.
Did you lose consciousness? This guy's got some fucked up shit in his neck. How old are you? Just
The plight of Filipino nannies working as slave labor in the West is a growing concern in Canada. Nannies across the country are being exploited by a system that imports cheap labor, making these women vulnerable to abuse. I spoke to 2 Filipino women who have discovered the many loopholes in the live-in caregiver program, which deny even basic human rights. These women and all caregivers gain strength from each other to speak out and demand the return of their respect and dignity.